The flickering candlelight danced across Andrea's face, highlighting the nervous tremor in her smile. She'd been unusually attentive all week. Little touches, whispered compliments, a renewed interest in my day-to-day drudgery. It was unsettling. We'd fallen into a comfortable, if somewhat stale, routine over the last few years. The sudden resurgence of affection felt forced, almost performative. Tonight was a culmination of her efforts, a romantic dinner she planned. Just the two of us, she'd said, but I knew better. My gut had been churning for months. The late nights at work that dragged on later and later, the hushed phone calls taken in the other room, the new perfume she'd started wearing, the kind that clung to the air long after she'd left. It all added up to a picture I didn't want to see, a picture I desperately tried to deny, until I saw the text message flash across her locked phone screen while she was in the shower. Can't wait for tonight. He'll never suspect a thing. 7 p.m. Be there. My world tilted. The air thickened. The casual betrayal, the brazen confidence of the deception. It ignited a cold fury in my chest. I unlocked her phone. Child's play, really, and confirmed my suspicions. Her lover, a man named Michael, a colleague from her office, someone I'd even met at a company picnic. The irony was almost comical, so I played along. I acted surprised and delighted by the dinner plans. I even bought her the expensive wine she'd been eyeing. All the while, a plan, cold and calculated, was forming in my mind. As I set the table, my phone buzzed with confirmations. My brother, a private investigator, had been busy. He discreetly invited a select group of guests to join our romantic dinner. Andrea's parents, her closest friends, even Michael's wife, Andrea, a quiet, unassuming woman I'd always liked. They were all on their way, blissfully unaware of the bombshell about to detonate. The doorbell rang at precisely 7 p.m. Andrea, radiant in a new dress, practically skipped to answer it. Her smile faltered, then shattered as she saw, not Michael standing on the porch, but her mother, followed by a growing crowd of familiar faces. "Surprise," I said, my voice echoing with a chilling calm. Andrea's face turned a ghostly white, the blood draining from her lips. She stammered, What is this?" "A dinner party, darling," I replied, ushering everyone inside. I thought we could celebrate something special. The confusion rippled through the room. Andrea's eyes darted nervously toward the clock, then back to me, a mixture of panic and bewilderment clouding her features. I offered everyone drinks, poured Andrea a generous glass of wine, and waited. Then the doorbell rang again. This time it was Michael. He strode in, a confident smirk on his face, a bouquet of flowers in his hand. He stopped dead in his tracks when he saw the room full of people, his eyes locking with mine. The smirk melted away, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated terror. "Michael," I said, my voice cutting to the stunned silence. "So glad you could make it. Andrea has a little surprise for you." I gestured toward Andrea, who was now trembling, her carefully constructed facade crumbling around her like a house of cards. The room erupted in a cacophony of gasps and murmurs as the realization dawned on everyone. Andrea's mother let out a choked sob. Andrea, Michael's wife, stood frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief. You knew?" Andrea whispered, her voice barely audible. "Oh, darling," I replied, taking a slow sip of my wine. "I've known for a while." I then turned to Michael, my voice hardening. "You picked the wrong woman to mess with." I stepped toward him, my fury finally breaking free. "You think you can sneak around behind my back? With my wife? In my house? You're pathetic." Michael, backed against the wall, stammered, trying to explain, to justify, but his words were lost in the rising tide of anger and disbelief. The confrontation was short, brutal, and entirely satisfying. I didn't lay a hand on him, but the sheer force of my rage, the public humiliation, the wreckage of his life unfolding before his eyes, that was punishment enough. Andrea, composed but trembling, walked toward him, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness. She didn't yell, didn't scream. She simply took her wedding ring off her finger, placed it in his hand, and walked out, her head held high. The party, if you could call it that, dispersed quickly, leaving behind a wreckage of shattered illusions and broken hearts. Andrea's parents, their faces edged with disappointment and shame, led her away, her sobs echoing in the suddenly empty room. I watched them go, feeling a strange sense of emptiness. The anger had dissipated, replaced by a hollow ache. The revenge had been sweet, yes, but it hadn't healed the wound. It hadn't erased the betrayal. I stood alone in the dining room amidst the remnants of the meticulously planned romantic dinner. The flickering candles, the uneaten food, the expensive wine. The scene, once filled with the anticipation of a secret rendezvous, now bore witness to its spectacular implosion. The air was thick with the scent of lies and broken promises. I walked over to the window and looked out at the night sky, the city lights twinkling in the distance. The world outside continued, oblivious of the drama that had just unfolded within these walls. My world, however, had irrevocably changed. The future stretched before me, uncertain and daunting, but at least it was mine, free from the suffocating weight of deceit. And in that moment, as the first rays of dawn began to paint the sky, I felt a flicker of something akin to hope. The pain was still raw, the wound still fresh, but I knew, with a certainty that surprised even myself, that I would survive this. I would heal. I would move on.